The housing situation in the UK and in many other countries all around the world is a topic that everyone seems to be talking about. In recent years, house prices have been steadily increasing, and it has become difficult for first-time buyers to buy their first house. Many people, especially younger generations, can't afford to buy their first home. In English, when we are talking about buying your first home and having your first property, we use the expression get onto the property ladder. So many people, especially younger generations, are struggling to get onto the property ladder. The demand is extremely strong and the supply is limited, and that has led to the increase in house prices in the UK. Even apartments or small houses that were once more affordable have become too expensive. And it's not just the top neighbourhoods that are out of reach. Houses that are in areas that used to be more affordable are now selling for extortionate prices. There is a shortage of homes in the UK, especially affordable homes. They aren't building enough new houses, and a lot of the houses that you find on the market are hundreds of years old, and if they're not maintained correctly, they will deteriorate. It's particularly difficult to find suitable housing in big cities like London, Manchester, and Birmingham. They are the biggest cities in England. Another problem that we have is the rental market. A lot of people are renting, and there have been many rent increases, so people are paying thousands on rent per month. Whenever I look online, you hardly ever see an apartment or a house for rent that is less than £1,000. In fact, the average is £1,200 in the UK. I've just looked up the average salary in the UK, and that's £2,330 per month. So that means that more than half of your salary goes towards rent, and that's without your other bills like water bills, electric, gas, and then other taxes like council tax. So it's ridiculous. This is why many people can't save enough to buy their first house, because their rent and their bills are so high that they might only be saving £100 a month. In December 2024, the average house price in the UK is £268,000. When you buy a house, you need to put down a deposit. You normally need to put down at least 5 or 10% of the total amount of the price of the property. And banks prefer first-time buyers to have a 10%. So we have said that the average house price in the UK is £268,000. That means that you'll have to put down a deposit of about £26,000. So with this data, I think that you'll be able to understand the problem a bit more. There have been several initiatives to help people get onto the property ladder, but People seem to feel that the UK government hasn't been doing enough to address the housing crisis. They have created initiatives and made proposals, but it seems like they haven't had a big impact and haven't solved this issue. The COVID-19 pandemic also affected the housing situation. People started to work from home, and many of these people still work online. So imagine a couple who used to live in London before the pandemic. In London, people usually have higher salaries because the cost of living is a lot higher as well. Imagine they were paying £3,000 per month on rent. And then there were lockdown restrictions. People avoided social gathering. You weren't supposed to go into the office. And people started working from home. So that couple would no longer need to be in London. They could work online from wherever in the country. So a lot of people have moved to cheaper areas, especially in the north. In England, the south is usually a lot more expensive and the north is a lot cheaper. So a lot of people have come up north and have bought their first home or sold their house in London or in the south in general and bought a cheaper home in the north. Maybe they had a small £500,000 apartment in London and they've sold it and have bought a giant house in the north of England. I think that during the pandemic, people started to reassess their life, ask themselves, what do they actually want? Do they want to live in a tiny house in the city centre or enjoy nature more and live in the countryside in a big house? So that is great for those people, but then all of the houses in that area would become more expensive because there is more interest. So imagine if I lived in a small village in the north of England. Houses used to be cheap because nobody was interested in them, but now that people can work from home and can live wherever in the country, there is more demand. People want to live in my little village, so now I can't afford to buy a house because I don't have a London salary. I would have a lower salary because I'm working in the rest of England, not in London where salaries are higher. So as you can see, the housing issue is quite complex. They say that there is a living crisis in the UK. People feel like they are struggling because of the rising rents, house prices, and it's not just that, it's the utility bills, the cost of food which has gone up a lot, and other basic expenses. Many people are spending a large portion of their income on housing, either on their rent or on their mortgage payments. First-time buyers are being forced to take on bigger mortgages because of the high house prices, which means that they have more debt. And lastly, people are struggling to save. People don't have enough savings for a deposit on their home, and in the end this affects your life in general because it can limit your ability to start a family, have children, or it can even affect your plans on retirement. I hope that you learned some words in this video. I think it's quite an interesting topic to talk about. If you have enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Bye.